time in their illustrious history, Real Madrid are UEFA Champions League winners. This after Los Blancos scored twice in the second half to beat Borussia Dortmund 2-0 in the Wembley final on Saturday. The win means Real Madrid now have 8 more UCL titles than the next best club, that's AC Milan, who have won 7 times. Well, joining us to shed more light on this remarkable achievement and break down the action from the final is our in-house football analyst, Leger Williams. And the man who might be closing in on the Prediction Guru title, our South American correspondent, Juan G. Arango. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Juan, I start with you because you seem to be getting everything right these days.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, hello. A little bit of humility goes a long way. So, Juan, you were spot on.
Well, I mean, with an introduction like that, who needs an agent, right? But but all that being said, it was, you know what? I was talking to many people before. I can't take all the credit for it, to be quite honest with you, because I was hearing and speaking with people that were in London, that were watching from afar, and many were coinciding with basically the same result, which was 2-0. Now, of course, with a little bit more gravitas, I was able to kind of add the 0-all, but there was a couple of times where I'm like, oh man, I don't know if it's going to get there. But I mean, the result ended up being exactly as we expected, especially when we started to see Borussia Dortmund begin to slowly deteriorate and break down, and when Real Madrid picked it up in the second half especially.
Yeah, and before we get into the analysis, and you said I'm like your agent now because of that introduction, let me just remind the viewers about how you went about predicting.
2-1.
2-1.
Behind Vinny Bellingham.
Oh wow, predictions. All right, Juan, what are your thoughts?
We had to wait that long for that prediction?
Come on.
I'm kidding. No, I said it yesterday. 0-0 at halftime, 2-0 Madrid.
Oh wow, we had to wait so long for that prediction, Juan, but he's on set, so he'll defend himself. Let's talk about Real Madrid and really and truly how they went about their business, because there were a couple of times in the match I felt like Borussia Dortmund had this, especially in the first half.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, there were times when we saw Real Madrid, we're like, I don't know, but then you kind of said, well, wait a second. We're talking about Real Madrid. If it's 0-all, even if it's 1-all, maybe even if it's 2-0 against them, they still find a way. And I mean, I don't know if there's something tactical that you can say, well, they do this, which they do, or they do that, which they probably do as well. But it's the intangibles of what they have. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum pretty much. Oh, they'll find a way to win. They'll find a way to get the result. They'll find a way to extend the match into extra time and find a way to get to penalties. And they've done it so many times that now it doesn't seem to bother them. It doesn't seem to faze them. It doesn't even seem to faze us as analysts saying, well, you know what? Real Madrid will find a way. It kind of is normalized when it comes to talking about this team and what they've been able to do, whether it was under Zinedine Zidane and, of course, now with Ancelotti.
Yeah, and we're going to spend some time talking about Carlo Ancelotti, but before we get to him, of course, the goal scorers Dani Carvajal and Vinny Jr. Dani Carvajal stepping up and getting that first goal, and of course getting the momentum back for Real Madrid. But Vinny Jr., I already knew that we couldn't have kept him off this score sheet.
You know what? You're right. When I remember it saying that Jude Bellingham should be the player of the year in La Liga, which I don't think that's a bad decision, but I would think in terms of the Ballon d'Or, there's really no one else to give it to than Vinny. I mean, unless Jude ends up winning the Euro with England, I think that's the only case that he would have to be able to say, well, no, we got to give it to Jude Bellingham. Yeah. And you know what? And again, it comes to what can Real Madrid do? I mean, against Bayern, Joselu stepped up. Before that, we saw other players come in and be able to contribute. Now, unexpectedly, no one expected Dani Carvajal to make a run to the near post, beat a guy that's about, 15, 20 centimeters taller than him to the ball, headed to the opposite side of the net and score what ends up being the goal that ends up opening up the game for Real Madrid. So again, another intangible that ends up being created thanks to individuals stepping up in big moments.
Yeah, and let's talk to this individual that's on set with me now. He didn't want to give us a prediction on Friday. He was bent on us tuning into the pre-game show. He's here now. You made us wait for all of that, for so long for that?
No, it's not that, it's just that I understand, earlier we were saying that one isn't the humble one. When you're that good at predictions, you draw a crowd. So,
yeah, so you were drawing a crowd.
I was just trying to get people to make sure that they're watching the pre-game show because of one and I, and of course the others that were on the show. So, yeah, I think overall, when it comes down to Real Madrid, as one was saying, it's an intangible thing for them. Obviously, there's a lot of tactical things that we can speak about with Real Madrid, and I would love to talk about them sometime, but it's really a foregone conclusion at times, especially when you see how the game is going. You're watching the first half, Dortmund do basically everything right in defense, in attack, and then when it comes down to it, they can't take their chances, and then when it gets to 0-0, you can kind of feel where the game is going to go in the second half, and it played out basically exactly how we would have expected.
Yeah, and the game can only go one way in the second half. However, Don Carlo says it's going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, when we talk about Carlo Ancelotti, the titles speak for themselves, right? But Liz, he's not a flashy manager. He's not the type of manager who comes on the SportsMax zone and tells me he's not giving me a prediction until next week, right? He's not that style. As a matter of fact, he's really quiet and revered. He answers when he's asked. You can tell the players don't question him. You don't really hear rifts between players and Carlo Ancelotti in his time at any club that he manages. He really has to get a lot of respect. And I know we say it, but this time I'm just genuinely trying to say and to stretch the point home that Carlo Ancelotti has really done brilliant in his career, especially at Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
All right, so, Liz?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think that Carlo Ancelotti, I think he has played, coached at the highest levels, and he's more than deserving of being named as one of the best managers of all time. I've always had him in that regard. So I think he just continues to further his legacy, and he's season on season. He's going to have one more season at Real Madrid, and I have no doubt that they'll be favourite not only for La Liga again, but for the Champions League as well.
Yeah, one quick one, and both of you can take this one. Continuing on the Carlo Ancelotti discussion, is he now the best manager Real Madrid have had?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That is
a
definitely a
very
sticky
good
one.
question.
I didn't know we were playing on the Providence wicket. Everybody seems bold.
That's a sticky one for you.
I mean, you could say that, yeah. I mean, why not? Let's go out on a limb and say that. I mean, in terms of trophies, he's won them all. In terms of titles, he won them all. At least keeping Real Madrid competitive, not once but twice in his two reigns. He's done it all. I mean, let's also keep in mind just what was it? 4 years ago, where was Carlo Ancelotti? Now, I mean, it's great to talk about what he did at Real Madrid, but he put Everton he put Napoli in a situation where they were contending and competing. He put Everton, albeit a brief time, there. I mean, it seemed like Carlo Ancelotti was kind of fading away into the sunset, going into the latter stages of his life, relaxing and understanding that he's going to be coaching at lesser teams. Comes back to Real Madrid, was the Champions League. Okay. But then look at the great coaches of all time, what they've been able to do. Sir Alex Ferguson. We can talk about Pep Guardiola. We can talk about who he surrounded himself with. Sir Alex Ferguson, you start naming people like Carlos Queiroz, amongst many others. Guardiola, we start mentioning his assistants, past and present. You start naming Carlo Ancelotti, same thing. His son Davide. You start looking at Francesco Tauri. You start looking at Antonio Pintus. You start looking at the people that even at one point he had Zinedine Zidane in his coaching staff. And look what he did as a coach. So it's how great is he? Well, he helped spawn this generation, to be quite honest, because La Decima was one from him, and from the La Decima to now, he's been a major part of what Real Madrid's success is. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to take the leap of faith. Yeah, I'll say he's the greatest coach of all time at Real Madrid.
Well, thank you very much for that one. And when you think that Kylian Mbappe, based on the reports, will be joining Real Madrid for next season, are we looking at a possible dominant period, or even if we just look at next season alone with Kylian Mbappe added to this Real Madrid setup, Ancelotti still there for another season. Are we looking at Madrid dominating in Spain and the J again dominating in Europe?
Yeah, as I said, we have to look at them as favourites, not only in La Liga but in the Champions League as well. They have the squad to do it. Obviously, they'll be losing a very key cog in that squad in Toni Kroos. But I believe, just judging off of the performances that we saw, even without buying anyone to replace him, which we think that they will as well, I think they have the pieces in place to replace him admirably. You know, Camavinga was excellent. He was best player in the park for my money in that Champions League final. And then when you think about the people that they're linked to, maybe Lenny Yoro, the young French centre-back, to bolster their back line. They're even linked to Trent Alexander-Arnold, the most devastating passer in world football. So it's just Real Madrid adding more Galacticos. It's nothing that we're going to not be used to. But how Ancelotti uses those Galacticos for one more year, it will be fascinating to see.
Yeah, and I know that we have advanced the discussion about what happens next and Real Madrid's legacy, which we've been discussing. But just a quick look back at the game itself, Lige, and Juan, because I want to go back to two first half moments, the 20th and the 27th minutes, when Adeyemi had opportunities to give Borussia Dortmund the lead twice. Not to say that that would have won them the match, because we know Real Madrid, they could overturn a 2-0 lead, but it could have made things different in the outcome of the game. The first one-on-one with Courtois, his first touch much too heavy and taking the ball well to the left and robbing himself of a better opportunity to score. And then 7 minutes after that, we saw him again enter the 18-yard box. Here's the first one. Yeah, this left-footed touch here, far too heavy, and sets himself up at a disadvantage to get a cleaner shot on goal. In a moment, we'll see the 27-minute effort when I thought he should have pushed the ball straighter or more to his right as Rudiger began to challenge him. But then he made that touch to the left and made things even more difficult for himself. Here it is now. This touch, to me, should have been either a straight touch or a touch toward the right, which would have given him, well, it certainly would have put Rudiger in a position to have to challenge. In the end, he moved the ball slightly to his left, and then it made things easier for Rudiger to block the effort, or, you know, made things more difficult for himself to have a good scoring opportunity. Those were two key moments in the first half.
Yeah, I agree with you, and you summed it up perfectly when you said he made it difficult for himself, because in both moments it was him being indecisive. I think Real Madrid really gifted them those opportunities on the transition. It was some good play by Borussia Dortmund, yes, but when it comes down to Adeyemi, the first chance, he just has, and I said it to you off here, he had twinkle toes when he was approaching to really put the ball past Courtois. And there's something in sport, you can't have wasted movement. And he certainly wasted a lot of movement before he made his decision to go around the keeper. And for the second chance, it was just the first touch to go that far wide, even though he is left-footed, and he would have wanted, here's what I said, he took 3 steps before he took it around. A more decisive player. If you put a Vinny Jr. in that situation, he's taking one touch, bam, he knows that he's either going to take the shot on one time or put it around the keeper. But for the second chance, it's just the touch to put it around the keeper. Here it is again. Adeyemi is racing through, first touch too wide.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, after seeing it a couple of times now, I don't think that he's trying to push it wide. I just think that's a bad first touch.
Yeah.
And that's really Adeyemi summed up. I've said it from Saturday up until now. He reminds me a lot of Dan James that played for Manchester United. Same type of player, really speedy. But he used to play for Manchester United. So
Leeds, Lige. He plays for Leeds.
I say used to play for Manchester United.
But he's currently at Leeds. Why would you say,
So
why would you go to used to?
Manchester United is the most famous club this side of the world. Of course, people would recognize him for playing for
Ricardo,
Manchester
why are you
United.
disowning Danny James?
I'm saying there's a reason he's at Leeds.
Well, Mourinho said that after they leave Manchester United, see where they play, he failed to recognize that he's going to eventually, people are going to say to him, see where their coach, now that he's in Turkey. But, you know, that's another discussion for another time.
Yeah.
I think Adeyemi, I think that he didn't show enough decisiveness when he got his chances in that first half, for sure.
Yeah. And Juan, your quick comments on Adeyemi's missed opportunities in the first half and how that may have impacted the result.
You know what? I wouldn't credit it all on Adeyemi. I mean, he had a world-class goalkeeper in front of him. If there was a doubt, you have to look at good goalkeepers make the strikers make the first move. good strikers make the goalkeepers make the first move. And of course, in this one, it was the former, not the latter. He's the one that you see Courtois, he's like, okay, go. He made the move, and all of a sudden, when he didn't know which move to make, and that's where he gets caught between two minds. Should I go right? Should I go left? And then he said, oh, let me go left. No, let me go right. Let me go left. And that's where the 3 touches end up taking him wide, which Courtois, at that point, his job isn't primarily to stop the shot. It's to kind of redirect him to go wide while his teammates come in support. So if anything, Courtois did his job. Courtois actually did his job throughout the entire first half. The way he came out, he cut angles. That Füllkrug shot that ends up hitting the post, that also has a lot to do with Courtois. The save that Courtois makes, that he ends up having to parry it wide, that's Courtois as well. So yeah, he only played 6 matches this year, but he came up big in the biggest one of all. So we have to give credit where credit's due as well in terms of what the goalkeeper was able to do amongst all the pressure that he was getting in the first half, which ends up leading to Dortmund not being able to score, which of course ends up leading to Real Madrid doing so in the second half.
Yeah, and of course, gentlemen, we have to say congratulations to Real Madrid. There's a reason people say that the Champions League and Real Madrid, there seems to be this sort of love relationship that, you know, Real Madrid can be suffering in the league competition, but the moment it's Champions League, it's a different sort of beast. We want to thank you so much, Juan, for, of course, joining us. Enjoyed your coverage on the Champions League. Look forward to talking to you again soon. And Lish, thank you so much. See you in studio.
I'll always be here, man.
Is that the
Thank
end
you,
of your
Mariah.
season?
And you're
End of my
getting a raise
season.
too. So
What did Juan say? I missed that.
He said I'm getting a raise. I'm not sure if you guys heard it, Ricardo.
no. I said my
Take note.
agent's getting a raise after today. So.
Oh, he's giving me one. Back it up. I'm his agent. Anyways,
It's time to break.
yeah, it's the break time. We'll talk again, Juan. Take care. Thanks, Lish. Break time.